Hello everyone, this is Sam from Language Atlas, and in this video I like to show you the complete French A1 Anki Deck. I refer to it as complete because it contains both the French A1 Grammar Anki Deck and the French A1 Vocabulary Anki Deck. So it is the complete package. It has everything you need to know to learn French. In this video we will go over three things. First, I like to show you the course structure of the complete French A1 Anki Deck. Second, I like to show you the course content, and I will do so by looking at three decks within the overall complete French A1 Anki Deck. And third, I'd like to show you some brief editing options. So let's get started with the first point, which is to show you the course structure. Now, normally you would double click on an Anki deck to open it. However, I've already done so, as you can see right over here. I'd like to show you what's inside it. So at first glance, you see there are three decks inside the overall complete French A1 Anki deck. We have two grammar decks, which are French A0 A1 Introduction to French and French A1 Grammar. And we have a vocabulary deck, which is French A1 Vocabulary. I will begin with French A0 A1 Introduction to French, which is a grammar deck. So there are 7 chapters. Chapter 1 is about pronouns, where you will learn how to say the most important subject pronouns, of course, the only subject pronouns in the French language. I, you, he, she, we, one, they. We look at, of course, we have as well chapter 2 verbs, where we learn how to say the most important verbs, avoir, faire, and être. We have chapter 3 idioms, where we learn how to say some important idioms. It is, there is, there are, my name is. We have chapter 4 articles, where we learn how to say the definite and indefinite articles, so the, a, and the plural forms, which will be un, une, le, la, le, les, and des. We have chapter 5 nouns as well, how to make nouns plural in French. We have chapter 6 adjectives, so we learn a bit about adjectives. We learn that adjectives, certain adjectives go before nouns, how to make adjectives feminine, how to make an adjective plural. We have chapter 7 questions, and we will learn how to ask, what is this? A very important question if you're learning language, of course. We have French A1 Grammar Deck. This is already a bigger one, so this is the second deck. And this one has 8 chapters. We have chapter 1 pronouns, where we look at indefinite pronouns, where we look at stress pronouns, where we look at demonstrative pronouns. We have chapter 2 verbs, where we look at ER verbs, where we look at IR verbs, where we look at RE verbs, where we look at important irregular verbs, we look at reflexive verbs in present tense, and we look at verbs in time as well. Then we go to chapter 3, we have articles and nouns, and you learn some more information about articles, how to contract them, for example, or how to say some. We look at nouns, where you look at how do you identify the gender of French nouns. We have chapter 4 adjectives, where we look at some important adjectives. For example, adjectives after se are masculine. We look at colors, we look at irregular adjectives. And of course, we look at how to form adverbs as well. We have chapter 5 negations, where we look at normal negations. So ne jamais, ne pas, non plus. But we also look at some special negations. For example, how do you negate reflexive verbs, or how do you negate with 2 verbs? Then we go to chapter 6, questions and interrogatives, where we look at how to ask questions in French, both closed and open questions. We have chapter 7, prepositions and conjunctions, where we look at some common prepositions, where we look at when do you say dans, when do you say en. Some transport ones, or when you use which with countries and cities, for example. And we have chapter 8, idioms, where we look at some set expressions in the French language. How do you say to need, how do you say to feel like, how do you express pain, how do you tell time in French, how do you use numbers, how do you use the French calendar, etc. And then we have the third deck, which is French A1 Vocabulary. And inside this, we can see that there are 9 chapters: pronouns, conjunctions, verbs, nouns, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, determiners, and finally, numbers. If you go to chapter 4 nouns, you can see that there's a little plus icon in front of it. If you click on it, we can see that there are 20 subdecks inside it. Now, what I've done is that I've categorized all the different nouns in the French language by theme. So academia and intellect, animals, arts and entertainment, location, society and economy, time, mass and numbers, transportation, you name it, it is there. So if you wish to learn the nouns by a certain theme, you're able to do so. Now, this was a quick overview of the course structure of both the grammar decks and the vocabulary deck. Now, what's interesting is that I've also made more detailed videos regarding the grammar decks and the vocabulary deck. I will link them as well. So if you wish to have even more detail, if you wish to see even more examples, you can look at those 2 videos. However, this video gives you an overall, let's say, bird-eyed view of what to expect when you get this deck. So look at those videos if you want more details, but I think this video suffices to give you a good overview. So now we move to the second point, which is to give you, show the course content. And I will look at 3 decks. I will look at one from French vocabulary, which is a chapter for nouns location deck. And I will look at 2 grammar decks inside of this one, which is regular IR verbs. And I will look at an idiom, which is to feel like. So chapter for nouns, location, study now. The building is big, we see over here. But before that, let's look at what we see over here. So it begins with a French sentence. And we have 2 blank areas over here. And underneath this French sentence, we have a translation. The building is big. And we can see that the building is bolded and underlined, which means that this is the part that goes inside the black areas. And it's your job to know what the building is in French. Underneath that, we have a picture of the French sentence. So this picture is a visualization of the French sentence. And it's here to give you a better understanding of the French sentence, but also it creates a link. Many studies have shown that if you have a visual representation of a sentence, it allows you to better remember it, which is really good if you want to learn French sentences, French words, French grammar. So let's have a look. What is the building in French?
Le bâtiment est grand. Le bâtiment, un bâtiment. Les bâtiments, des bâtiments.
So let's begin over here. This is what I like to call the sentence area. Here we have the correct answer, le bâtiment. And you can see right over here that the French noun is in blue. Why is this the case? French is a gendered language, which means that nouns and adjectives are either masculine or they are feminine. And what I've done is that all the masculine nouns that you see over here are in blue, and all the feminine nouns that you see are in pink. So this will help you to identify the gender of French nouns. So underneath this, we have the IPA notation of the French sentence. This is here so you can better pronounce the French sentence. Underneath that, we have the English translation of the French sentence. And of course, it's here so you know what it means. And we have an audio.
Le bâtiment est grand.
There you go. This is the second area. This is what I like to call the singular area. So we have over here the singular noun both in its definite and indefinite form. We have an IPA notation of the singular noun. We have the translation and again an audio.
Le bâtiment, un bâtiment.
Finally, we have the plural area. So plural, IPA notation, translation, and audio.
Les bâtiments, des bâtiments.
Great. Let's have a look at another one. The students entered the classroom. How do you say the classroom?
Les élèves sont entrés dans la classe. La classe, une classe. Les classes, des classes.
And as you can tell, it's the same setup, sentence, singular noun, plural noun. However, what is interesting right over here is that you see that la classe is in pink. Why is this the case? That is because it is a feminine noun. And as I mentioned before, masculine nouns are in blue and feminine nouns are in pink. This will help you identify the gender of nouns. Let's do another one. We visit the town. How do you say the town in French?
Nous visitons la ville. La ville, une ville. Les villes, des villes.
So again, we see sentence, singular, plural area. Let's do another one. The cafe near my school is open right now. How do you say the cafe?
Le café près de mon école est ouvert en ce moment. Le café, un café, du café. Les cafés, des cafés.
Great. Now this was the first card type where you see a sentence and you have some blank areas. Now I would like to show you the second card type, which is this one. And the second card type is a spelling exercise. So it tests whether you actually can spell vocabulary correctly. So let's have a look. So let's see what happens if I enter this.
Le bâtiment est grand. Le bâtiment, un bâtiment. Les bâtiments, des bâtiments.
Great. So as you can tell, I have the answer correctly. Hence, it is green. And this is how Anki shows you that you had the answer correct. However, what if you did not know the correct answer? What if you did something like this?
Les élèves sont entrés dans la classe. La classe, une classe. Les classes, des classes.
And as you can see right over here, Anki corrects you when you are wrong. So I made it masculine and it should have been feminine, and I used a K and it should have been a C. So what I had correct in the answer, Anki shows me in green, and what I had incorrect, Anki shows in red. And over here in gray, what should have been there. So this is how Anki shows you what you had wrong and what you should have improved. And this is really helpful if you want to learn vocabulary. Also, of course, if you want to learn grammar, but it tests whether you can actually spell the words correctly. And I could continue, but I think you get a picture. More spelling exercises. So that was an example from the vocabulary deck. And we have 2 decks left from grammar. I would like to go to verbs. I would like to go to IR verbs. I would like to go to regular IR verbs. So what do we see right here? We have, again, a French sentence with a blank area. We have over here, we have the English translation. We have a picture right over here. However, this is something interesting. We have choisir here. Why is this here? That's because we have to conjugate this verb. So how do you conjugate choisir with the subject pronoun je? So I. I choose Auburn as my champion. I choose.
Je choisis Aubrin pour mon champion.
And as you can see, this is the correct answer. Now, this part we've seen before. We have the French sentence, we have the English translation, and we have the audio. However, the interesting thing when it comes to the grammar decks is that the backside always has an explanation area. And this explains why you have chosen something or how something works. So right over here, we have the regular IR verbs conjugation table. And this shows you what the endings are for IR verbs conjugations. We have over here the regular IR verbs conjugation method. You see a little summary of it. Find the infinitive, which is the full verb, cut off the IR ending, add the new ending, which you have seen over here. And this is an explanation of it. So we find infinitive, which is choisir. The full verb of choose is choisir in French. We cut off the IR ending, and then we add an IS, which is what we have done over here. And there's a little area about pronunciation. So, for example, you do not pronounce the last S. You don't say je choisis, but no, you do not pronounce the last S. And the same in il form as well. So we had the cards, choisir, and we conjugated choisir. We took off the R ending, added this ending, and we are over here. So that is some interesting stuff. And of course, there's a bit of liaison as well. For example, vous invitons, where the S becomes more of a Z sound. Okay, let's continue. We have another sentence. What time do you finish work? We have finir. À quelle heure tu ton travail? Let's have a look.
À quelle heure finis-tu ton travail?
And again, explanation areas over here. We cut off the IR ending and IS because it's 2. We know that she's going to grow up. We know that she's growing up fast. Grandir. Let's have a look.
On sait qu'elle grandit vite.
There you have it. Let's do one more. This is why we are investing in the military. Investir in a new form.
C'est pourquoi nous investissons dans l'armée.
And there you have it. And I could continue long enough, and then we would end up with this one that we've seen before, which is a spelling exercise where you spell, and if you have the correct answer, it shows up in green. And if you do not have the correct answer, it will correct you like we have seen before. So I would like to show you one more deck, which is chapter 8 idioms. I would like to go to set idioms, and I would like to go to feel like want. Avoir envie de. So again, we see French sentence, some blank areas. They're craving chocolates. They feel like chocolate. How do you say that?
Elles ont envie de chocolat.
There you go. And again, as I mentioned, all grammar cards have an explanation area. And we can see over here that you can say to feel like in French with nouns. You can say also to feel like in French with verbs. And chocolat is a noun. So how do you say to feel like with nouns? You say avoir envie de. And then the idiom is generally used when you have a desire for something. The something is a noun. So we had on because it's elle, and then envie de, and then whatever the noun is. He feels like going out with her. Let's see.
Il a envie de sortir avec elle.
And there we go. We have one with verbs. Sortir. Il a envie de sortir. That's another one. What do you feel like doing? How do you say that? What do you feel like doing?
Tu as envie de quoi?
And there we have it. And again, I could continue. We see we have many, many examples. And then at a certain point, we would end up with the typing exercises as well. So this is what I wanted to show you in terms of cards. Again, there's a video about the French A1 grammar, and there's a video about French A1 vocabulary where you can see even more examples if you wish to do so. But I think right now this suffices. I'd now like to go to my third point, which is to show you some brief editing options. And what I really want to show you is how to regulate how many cards you see per day. So if I click on options, you see I have over here daily limits. And I have new cards per day and maximum reviews per day. And this regulates how many new cards you see per day. So I can go from 20 to 50. And maximum reviews a day. So how many reviews will you do a day? Things that you've done before, a review. And I can change this from 20 to 50 as well. You can see it has increased to a maximum of 50. I can go to options. I can decrease this again from 50 to 20. Same over here, 50 to 20. Click on save. And that is that. Great. My advice to you would be to pick a low number. It is much better to use a low number in the beginning, stick with it, and then later on increase it. Language learning is all about forming a habit, and it's easier to form a habit if you have a low number in the beginning. So that was it for this video. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. You can get the complete French A1 deck at languageatlas.com. Once again, I will share all the links, all the helpful information in the description and comment section, so you can have a look right over there if you need it. Thanks again for watching. I wish you a very good day and lots of luck with learning French. Goodbye.